There are 134 monuments in EU4 1.37, and I put every single one of them on a tier list. Please sit back, enjoy, and hit that subscribe button as we go through every monument in the game. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. As the intro suggested, today we are going to be ranking, or rather putting into a tier list, all 137 monuments that are in the game of EU4. We're going to start and go in alphabetical order of what is listed on the Paradox wiki for EU4. And we're just going to get into it here. I have some notes. I already went through these and kind of put down some of my ideas. So we're going to go through pretty quick. This is going to be a longer video. There are 137 of these to talk about. And I'm going to kind of show you where they are on the EU4 map as well. So to start, we have the Afak Koja Mausoleum in Kashgar. All right, here is the province, and this is what it does for you. At level 3, it gives you 50% religious unity, monthly piety accelerator of 0.3, and some clergy loyalty. At level 1, the religious unity is 25%, and it goes up by a significant amount each time. The piety goes up by 0.1, and the loyalty goes up by 5%. I use this monument quite a bit when I'm playing as the Caliphate or the Sunni Mughals. The piety accelerator makes it actually pretty good. I could move it up to the A tier. And the 25% religious unity at tier 1 is pretty decent, but it's not an all-around, fairly good monument as long as you have decent religious unity within your country. Religious unity is one of those modifiers that it's nice to have if you are low on it, but otherwise it's not the greatest. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put that monument into the B tier. Up next, we have the Al-Azhar University in Cairo. So this university starts off at level 1 if you start as the Mamluks, which is not too bad. So you get some possible advisors growing up. I think I'm going to put this one in the B tier. The idea cost at level 2 is actually pretty decent, but it's nothing to really spend your ducats on if you have other things that'll boost your economy. Again, the big thing for these for a lot of these monuments is you want to be able to make more money to afford other things and other monuments. But 5% idea cost is actually pretty decent. Possible advisors going up for the last level is nothing crazy. Institution spread in your capital region, if you have your capital in Egypt, is okay. So solid B tier for this one. Let's move this one over to the B tier category. All right. Up next, we have an easy S tier. That's going to be Alhambra. Getting the 5% admin efficiency is just absolutely busted. And because it starts in Granada, any nation can really rush down this monument if you really want to. Or you could just take one province from Castile or Spain, or whoever has it at a certain point in the game that you reach this province. But 5% admin efficiency that any nation can use is just really busted. So easy S tier. Let's go ahead and move this over to the S category. And move on to the next monument. The next monument is going to be the Al Palace. This one is over in Zaragoza in Aragon. This one I think is solidly going to be probably in the B tier. The missionary strength starts stacking at tier 1, which is great that you already have it if you are playing as Castile or Aragon. And then it just keeps going up with the harsh treatment cost, up to 2% missionary strength and 33% harsh treatment cost. That's actually pretty decent if you get to the age of absolutism and you want to start using harsh treatment to increase your absolutism. So that is actually why this is actually particularly useful. You might want to rush this down if you get to 1610 and you feel like you need to start using harsh treatments to boost your absolutism up and you don't want to cheese it in a different way. Actually very useful. And the missionary strength, obviously very, very good. But because it's not useful in other ways, give it a solid B tier. So this monument, it's decent, but I think we're going to put it into the B category, just because it could be better in other ways. The next one we're going to be doing is Ambra's Castle. So this one doesn't have any levels to start out with, and it gives you Army Drill Game modifier that goes up each tier. So Army Drill Game, it's nice to have. It's a good modifier, but for the price of upgrading this monument, I honestly don't think it's a top priority. So I would honestly think to put this in the C tier. So quite frankly, I think this monument has a place in the C tier. It's not really that important to get the army drill gain. It's nice to have, so your armies are easy to drill at a certain point in the game, but it's definitely not a priority for your ducats, that's for sure. So easy C tier for me. The next monument is the Amsterdam Bourse. So this this monument is culture locked, so you need to be Dutch in order to use it or have Dutch accepted, which is fine. You can accept Dutch culture as a lot of different nations, especially if you get the Burgundian inheritance. But this one gives you local modifiers mostly. We get a little bit of a trade company investment reduction, but if you complete a Dutch mission, you can get some trade steering, 25% trade steering, pretty decent at level 3. For that reason, we're going to put it into the C tier. Otherwise, it's really not that good, but the trade steering is nice if you are completing Dutch missions. So C tier if you're Dutch, maybe put it to A tier. But honestly, it's very nation-specific, C tier. The next monument, this one will be quick and easy. Angkor Wat, it is religion locked. However, it does give you tech cost reductions at all levels and starts at level 1. So if you're Khmer, you get a nice tech cost discount. And even at level 2, the tech cost is there. And the only thing that goes up is the yearly karma decay and some loyalty. So just getting this to level 2, very valuable. So let's put this one into the B tier. If it wasn't religion locked, it'd be probably an A tier for sure. So the next one is going to be this great project in Demnati. This is Ait Benadou. So this is the Moroccan trade city. So this one actually I think is pretty decent. Caravan power at level 1, it starts at level 2 if you are Moroccan, otherwise it'll go down a tier if you conquer it. Caravan power 20%, 5% trade efficiency, and then 10% trade efficiency, 33% caravan power, and 5% global trade power. This is probably one of the better trade monuments that any nation can use. There's no religion or culture lock on this one. So it's very easy for the Iberians and any European really to get over here. In a lot of my runs, I like to release Morocco and do a reconquest over here against the Iberians just to make a strong vassal over in Africa. So this is an easy monument for me to pick up a lot of my runs. So definitely pretty decent. And for that reason, we're going to drop this one into the A tier, our first A tier monument. This next one is the Bagan Temples over here. This is more or less missionary strength bonuses, 1% per level, plus some extra missionaries for the religion specific. So you need to be Theravada or one of the other religions over here. So good missionary strength bonus if you're that religion. I think solidly this one's an A tier. So I think the Bagan Temples, definitely pretty good. We'll put it into the A tier. It's just pretty decent monument in general if you're that religion. So solid A tier. So this next monument, the Baituram Grand Mosque. So this one is actually pretty strong, mostly because it is affecting all the Sunni nations and the Muslim nations, and it gives you missionary strength and the tolerance. The tolerance being the key thing. It's really easy as a Sunni nation to stack tolerance of the true faith and never deal with any kind of rebel problems. So for this reason, I'm going to give this one actually an S tier. I take this a lot of times. So because I take this one a lot, I'm actually going to give this one an S tier. It's not as good as Alhambra, obviously, but because you're able to take it as a lot of different nations, there's a lot of Sunni nations in the game. It's this really strong religion, and you can stack that tolerance and missionary strength. It's really good for a one faith. I'm going to go ahead and put that one in the S tier. Just barely, though. Barely in the S tier. So this next one is religion locked to Zoroastrian, so the rarest religion in the game. But because of the new mission trees and stuff for Aaron Shah and Persia, you can actually get this monument a lot easier. And it gets 10% discipline and some fire damage given and received. So it's actually really strong. I would say it probably, S tier if you're that religion and you can actually use the monument. So I think I almost have to put it there just because otherwise you're never going to be able to use it. And if you can use it, it's going to be S tier anyways. So yeah, I was thinking A tier, but I think we're going to have to put it in the S tier just because if you can use it, it's the best monument for you. So we're going to have to put it in the S category for sure. This next one, super strong. If you're doing a Timurid Mughals run, it already starts at level 2. Really good monument. It gives you a level 1 caravan power, 10%, small bonus. Level 2 jumps to 20% and an extra merchant. That's a pretty big power spike with that extra merchant in there. That'll let you push for trade from a whole nother region if you'd like. And then that doubles to 40% caravan power at the 3rd tier. This monument, honestly really solid. Any nation can use it, which definitely bumps it up in my book. So because any nation can use it, starts at level 2. Honestly, this one I could probably put at either the A or the S tier. I'm not gonna lie, this one is pretty decent. I think we'll put it in the A tier. It's overall pretty decent. It makes me almost want to move this one down to A tier, but we'll leave all of these where I put them to begin with. This tier list is by no means perfect. It's just my opinions as I'm reading the bonuses. Next monument is the Barakatra over here in Bengal in the province of Dhaka. This monument is culture locked, so you can get it as the Mughals or anybody over in India. It gives you some decent trade steering and an extra merchant. So I think solidly I would put this in the A tier. The loyalty is also really good. So definitely an A tier monument. I think the extra merchant and everything is pretty good. It is culture locked, so you can unlock it if you wanted to accept a Bengali culture or whatever. But if you're the Mughals or something like that, you can unlock it for free. That's pretty easy. But the trade steering, the merchant, not too bad. I'll take that. I'll definitely take that in most runs. Definitely an A tier for sure. This next monument, not as useful as the other ones listed so far. This one gives you some global trade power at level 1. That's not too bad. Anyone can use it, so that's definitely a bonus. This goes up to 15%. I'll give you some sailors modifiers. I think overall, it's okay. The global trade power is definitely good. I mean, take it if you need to spend your ducats on something. But I would say this is probably not as good as some of the other monuments on the list so far. So I think I'm gonna put this one over here into the C tier. Decent, not great. This next one is the Biblioteca Corviniana in Budapest. This one gives you institution spread, 10% at level 1. Doubles that, gives you some embracement cost reduction at level 2. And level 3 gives you 5% idea cost, plus some other bonuses to the other 2 modifiers. This is really expensive for what it gives you. And honestly, like, this is something I would take, like, if I have a lot of money and nothing really to put it into. At the point of the game where I'm going to be putting 5,000 plus ducats into something, 5% idea costs might be worth it, probably not. So for this one, I think it's probably going to end up lower on the tier list. Honestly, I was thinking C tier for this one because, you know, idea cost is nice and anyone can use it. But quite frankly, I think it's just too expensive. We're going to throw it in the D tier. This next monument is the Borobudur Temple. This one gives you some nice culture conversion costs if you're the right culture and religion. So it's very niche and situational. But the culture conversion cost, if you want to do a one culture, this one is kind of nice to stack. The unrest reduction is good. That's the only other good modifier of this. If you're not going to do any culture converting, the national unrest modifier makes you more stable. So that's always a plus. But other than that, not that great. National arrest modifier making it a little bit better, but not that great overall, just because it's religion locked and whatnot. So, and for that reason, we're going to throw this one into the C tier, I think. Would be a B tier if it was a little easier to access, for sure. Next monument, Brand Castle. This one gives you, if you're the right culture, some garrison and fort maintenance on border with rival, and some local defensiveness, if you're the right culture. For me, that one's an easy F tier. Our first of the game. The modifiers are very small. It's culture specific, and I mean, by the time you have enough money to build this up, you're not even going to be fighting the Ottomans or anybody bordering you anyways. So there's really no point in having local defensiveness right there. I just don't see it. Unless you're playing, a very tall campaign. It might be situationally beneficial, but for that money, absolutely not. The next monument on the list is the Brandenburg Gate over here in Berlin. This one gives you prestige from land battles, and if you're Prussian or have the military, militarization of state mechanic, like you do if you're Prussian or whatnot, you get the bonuses from that. That keeps going up each level. But the army tradition from battles and the prestige from land battles just keeps you topped off. It's very nice to have, especially in the later stages of the game. For this reason, I think it's going to be a solid B tier. It's very expensive to get, and you can't really access all of the mechanics provided by it unless you are playing a Prussian or German game. But because anybody can get it, and you can still get some good modifiers for keeping yourself topped off on those important attributes of army tradition and prestige, I think I'll give it a solid A tier, I think. So a solid A tier for Brandenburg Gate. Not too bad. So the next monument is the Buddha statues. This one, again, is kind of hard to use. You have to be the correct religion. It's giving you some missionaries and missionary strength bonuses, which is always good. And then some idea cost and the culture conversion cost, which is kind of crazy. So if you are, for example, playing Hindu with the Buddha deity, you can stack this culture conversion cost pretty high with some other monuments to do some one culture if you want to achieve something like that. But outside of that, it's very situational, and the missionaries and missionary strength is not crazy powerful. So I'm going to have to rate this one a little bit lower. But there is an upside to it, of course. So for the Buddha statues, I think a C tier. Again, situationally, if you're that culture, that religion, go for it. It's going to give you missionaries. It's going to help convert everything. But otherwise, not that great. The next monument on the list is Cahokia. This one gives you manpower modifiers if you're totemist. It starts at level 2, which is the only really good reason why it's useful. If you have money to spend and you can't build any more buildings, you're going to get it to level 3. But at a certain point, tribal development growth isn't a mechanic anymore. But the 20% manpower, decent if you're totemist. I will say that. Otherwise, not that great. So that one's solidly going to go into the D tier for that reason. Totemist, not a strong religion, not a very used monument. A lot of times, the New World nations are going to convert to a more useful religion than Totemist, but It's okay. So this province actually starts uncolonized. I just colonized it to show you the monument and the location. This is the Cartagena de Indias fort system. I'm usually going to get this as Castile or Portugal or one of the colonizers. It gives you ship trade power per level, as well as some prestige from naval battles. And you're going to get some decent modifiers locally, but it's not terribly useful. It's very good if you're playing in the New World and you want to defend against the colonizers, but for overall, not that great. So it's going to rank a little bit lower. But I think for this monument, we're going to throw it into the, I think, D tier. That's a lot of money for some ship trade power, and most of the time, you're really not utilizing ships too effectively. At least I'm not. To propagate trade. If you are, maybe move it into the C tier, but for me, it's going to be a D tier for sure. So this next one is over here, the Cerrico del Potosi. This one gives you local bonuses, good produced. It's good for getting your gold production up, especially if you're in the New World, or if you have a New World nations feeding you gold. So it's not useless, but local modifiers, you could live without it. I think honestly, for that reason, I might even just put it in the F tier. Yeah, this one sadly is going to be an F tier monument. So, second F tier of the list. So, in the next one, it would be a lot lower ranking for sure if nobody could use it, but anyone can use this monument. It gives you Diplo relations at level 1, which is good, so if you need that, that's pretty awesome. If you're Incan, it gives you other bonuses too, so props for being a decent Incan monument here. But again, just the extra Diplo relations is okay. Because anyone can use it, it's not too bad. If it was religion or culture locked, definitely be a D or an F tier, but because anybody can use this monument, we're going to place the Chan Chan into the C tier. Next one, pretty solid, Chichen Itza, over here in Mexico, in the Yucatan Peninsula. This one gives you good manpower recovery speed if you're Mayan, and a decent amount at level 1, which is nice bonus to have early on when you first unlock this. So not too bad overall. This one gets a solid B tier, I think. I'll put that one in the B tier for sure. So this next monument is the Citadel of Aleppo. It starts at level 1. It's pretty decent to have if you're the Mamluks, if you can fight on the monument, but it's really not defensive terrain. So local defensiveness doesn't do too much for you, really. And it's just local modifiers as it keeps going up. So quite frankly, I might just put this in the F tier. Yeah, for being another castle defense simulator, I'm pretty sure this is an F tier monument. So that's where that's going to go. This next one is the City of Kami. This one's over in Zimbabwe in the Mutapa at the start of the game. Starts at level 1, gives you some local defensiveness and cost to fabricate claims. But as you go up, you get tech cost minus 5%. So even at level 2, this one's pretty solid. You can just leave it at level 2. The cost to fabricate claims is not that great, but just because you can get 5% at level 2 and anyone can use it, it's pretty cheap. And this is a province that a lot of people can reach fairly easily and take it, because it's just some smaller nations. Maybe Kilwa has it even later in the game. If you're playing any kind of European or colonial power, you can get this for pretty cheap. So I would definitely put this one. So this one, I think I'm actually going to put in the A tier. It's easy to access. It's cheap, 5% tech cost just for getting it level 2. So overall, definitely an A tier monument. So the next one's over here in the Racids, the city of Sana. This one, any nation can use, but you get better bonuses if you're playing as Yemen or the Racids, I do believe. So missionary strength, manpower, and true faith provinces, that's really strong. But just because you can get an extra merchant as any nation, I would say this one gets probably bumped up a little bit, but it is still quite expensive. So I think, honestly, we're going to throw this one, in the D tier. Not that great. Okay, this one, hear me out. City of Sarai starts at level 2. That's a plus if you're the Great Horde. And any Horde can use this, and it gives you envoy travel time. 15% at level 2 at start. Friendly movement speed in the region, which is decent, but the travel time. Don't sleep on the travel time. So, honestly, I might put this in the B tier. You might think I'm crazy for not putting it C or lower. I'm going to put it in the B tier. That travel time is so important if you're playing a Horde. Oh my god, if you're Mongol Empire or something like that, you need the travel time. It's inoperable. You can't declare wars forever because your diplomats are taking 10 years to get home. So, travel time, don't sleep on it. All right, this next one, only Christians can use. This is the Cologne Cathedral in Cologne. Papal influence, fervor growth, church power, enforcing religion through wars. That's pretty much it. Even at the max rank, it maybe gives you some loyalty. It's not the greatest, and some of these bonuses really don't matter as much as a lot of other things. So for that reason, probably not going to rank too high. So because it's not really necessary, not the greatest, I'm going to put it in the D tier. Not F tier, D tier. I mean, any nation that's Christian can use it, so that's a plus. There's a lot of nations that are going to be Protestant, Reformed, or Catholic that you can play, so it's definitely useful, but it's not fantastic. So this next one is the Divergent Hospital and Mosque. It gives you reinforced speed at level 1. It's going to be giving you innovativeness gain and the monthly piety accelerator at level 2. That's pretty good considering if you're going to be in this region, you're most likely going to be Sunni. That accelerator is nice to have. And the next level, the 25% reinforced speed is actually pretty decent. You're going to be able to, fill your stacks up pretty quickly after you take some fights. This is probably one of the reasons the Ottomans always seem to have big stacks after you beat them in a fight. Their big stacks are just going to come marching right back on top of you. So not that bad at all. The accelerator makes it great, easy to access. So definitely a solid monument. Solid, but not fantastic. We're going to put this one in the B tier. It's just easy to access, and it's pretty good overall. I'm tempted to put it in the B tier, but honestly, I think just because of the cost of everything, it doesn't give you that many bonuses for your money. So we're going to put it in the C tier, I think. So the next monument is the Doge's Palace. This one gives you Reform Progress and Republican Tradition. That's pretty good. If you're playing as a Republic, having this Republican Tradition bonus is actually really, really important. You can keep your rulers for longer, and you can just have better rulers in general. Also, the Reform Progress growth means that any nation that gets Venice early is going to crank through their reforms. For this reason, I almost always recommend taking Venice early if you can, just so you can get a couple points into this monument, at least a level 2. Getting that 20% actually adds up. So it's a pretty decent monument, especially since everyone can access it. So for that reason, I think Doge's Palace, I'm tempted to put it in the A tier, but I think the B tier, overall, it's got very few modifiers on it, and the Reform Progress, you can survive without it. It's very situational, but definitely at least B tier, if not A tier. Next monument over here in Chengdu is the Duzhangyan. So this one is going to give you a few things. It's useful if you're the Emperor of China, because it gives you the devastation bonuses, but it's area locked. Anyone can use it, but the monthly devastation it's okay. Well, you need to get to level 3 to get it globally. For that reason, honestly, it's kind of expensive. By the time you're invading China as a European, for an example, you're really not going to need this too much. But yeah, it's got to rank pretty low, right? I mean, honestly, sadly, I'm going to put this one in the F tier. It's very expensive for what you get. Again, if you're the Empire of China, you're going to make a lot of money in general, so you can unlock its bonuses earlier. So maybe you might bump that priority up a little bit higher if you are playing as Ming, for example, or Qing or somebody over there. But honestly, F tier really overall. So this next one is the El Escorial. This is a monument in Madrid, in Iberia. So if you are Iberian culture, you can access this. It's going to give you some good bonuses that really scale, especially at 2 and 3, where you get 10% more governing capacity, and the treasure fleet income and the tariffs go way up. So overall, you're going to make a lot more money if you max this out. So if you're playing a colonial game in Iberia, this is at least A tier. Yeah, so let's put that one over into the A tier. Solid monument. Even though it is culture locked, it's pretty freaking good. I definitely missed a couple monuments if I was going in alphabetical order, so oopsies. But this monument is in Milan, the Duomo. This one is average. You have to be Christian, so most people over here can access it. You're going to get resistance to the Reformation and local tax, and maybe some extra papal authority, fervor, or church power, depending on which denomination you are. So, it's good to have if you really want to boost some of those points and you have nothing to spend your money on. But overall, it's kind of mid. So I'm going to put the Duomo at a solid D tier, honestly. The resistance to the Reformation, you can handle that on your own. You don't need extra modifiers to resist it. That's, I think, more there for the AI to use than anybody else. The human player's not really going to take advantage of this. So the next one is the Dutch polders in Amsterdam. So this one is going to give you some goods produced modifiers globally, which is actually a fantastic modifier. But you have to have Dutch or one of the Dutch group cultures accepted. So that's one of those things, again, that if you get the inheritance from Burgundy, that's super easy to do. So those good produced modifiers are pretty solid. So getting this monument early is it's a good one to have. And you get an extra 5% if you're playing as the Dutch and you complete some missions. So, props to that. So honestly, solid B, maybe even an A tier for this one. I think at least a B. I'm not going to bump it up to A tier just because you have to accept the culture, but definitely a B tier for sure. If you're playing with a Dutch accepted culture, bump that up to A tier, no problem. But I think overall just a B tier because it's kind of situational to access, but definitely useful. Definitely a good use of your ducats. You're going to make a lot of money if you get that extra goods produced, that's for sure. So for the next one, Edinburgh Castle, you need to have the Scottish Roman, if you have Roman culture unlocked. bonuses. It's going to give you local defensiveness, maybe an extra for military policy if you have the accepted culture. But I mean, it's you can use it as the British. It's nice, right? But it's not that great. It really isn't that great. The loyalty from the nobility is decent. The free policy is decent. But again, you have to be the correct culture. The modifiers for the cost of this are not good. Later in the game, maybe, if you are playing an England game or Great Britain game, it can be useful. But honestly, this monument is pretty trash. So for that reason, Edinburgh Castle, F tier. Sorry, not that great. This next one, not that great either. We're at the Ellora Caves over in Daulatabad in India here. Starts in the Manas. You get 0.25 extra tolerance per level and an extra half once you get to level 3. And it's culture and religion locked. At least religion locked. And that's such a small amount of bonuses. It does give you some loyalty, which is always nice, but not necessary. Such a small amount for such a lot of money. I really don't think it's that good. So because it's super, super dummy expensive for really, honestly, pretty bad modifiers, or at least the level of them is pretty bad, we're going to throw that one in the F tier for sure. This next one is the Adene Zoo. So this one is in Karakoram, so you can access one as a horde if you're the right religion. So Tangri hordes mostly, as well as a few other religions if you get the right interactions for Hindu following Buddha and stuff like that. You can get religious unity, karma decay, clergy loyalty, and horde unity. So horde unity, usually if you're playing a horde, you can try and keep that up if you just keep conquering things. So that's usually not that valuable of a modifier. So overall, these modifiers, again, not terribly good. However, if you're playing a horde, your religious unity is going to be pretty bad to begin with. And I am very fond of playing a Tangri horde, so I might bump this one up a little bit in my heart, but I can't see it going past a B or a C tier, really. Unfortunately, yeah, Karakoram, I'm going to put this one in a C tier. I had it originally at A. I don't know why I thought that on my first glance at it, but no, definitely a C tier monument for sure. Next monument is the Miadzin Cathedral. So this one you have to be Coptic, so it's one of the few Coptic-specific monuments, which makes it great if you're playing as Coptic, so you can't docket points for that, really. I mean, you could if you really wanted to docket points in your own heart, but for me, if I'm playing as Coptic, this is kind of a must-have one with the missionary strength to help me convert those provinces, as well as the tolerance of the true faith. That's pretty solid. Being topped off on tolerance is really nice to make yourself stable. So for that reason, I think I'm going to rank this a little bit higher. So I think let's put this at the A tier. It's one of the few Coptic monuments, and the bonuses are really solid. If it was accessible by any nation, it would be an S tier for sure. So definitely keep it in the A tier. Next one is the Falun Copper Mine. This one gives you artillery cost reduction. Any nation can use this. This one is more useful in the later stages of the game, where you're eventually going to have that money to put into the monuments at some point. So it's definitely useful. Again, this is one of those things that when you start cranking out a lot more artillery in the late game, you're going to want this. But otherwise, it's not that great. So I think it's definitely going to dock some points there for sure. Maybe a C or a D tier. But because it's useful later, maybe bump it up to a C. Yeah, let's put this one at the C tier. Just because of how useful it is in the early game, which is where most EU4 players are going to be playing. Not a lot of people play too late into the game, so definitely keep it at the C tier for sure. Next monument is the Fuerte del Moro. So this is one of those colonial region monuments. Any nation can use this one because any nation can colonize Puerto Rico. This one gives you naval force limit and overlord naval force limit. So 10% per level and some local modifiers per level as well. So not too bad. You get it to level 1. You get that 10% bonus. It's useful for sure, especially because it can affect you as an overlord. So once the colonial nation is formed, they get force limit, you get force limit. It's a win-win situation. So that makes it okay. But naval force limit, again, not one of those modifiers that is going to make or break your game. So it's got to be a lower ranked one for sure. But I think because any nation can get it, if you're colonizing, it's free, more or less. I would say probably a B or a C tier. I mean, if you're playing a colonizer, it's got to be a B tier, right? Because you can access it really early and really easily. You don't have to go out of your way. You can just put money into it if you want to. So might as well throw it in the B tier. I think it's probably closer to a C, but we'll give it a B tier. That's fine. Let's keep going. Next monument is over here in Tehran. We have the Gulistan Palace. This one you have to have Persian as accepted culture by the owner, and the culture in the province needs to stay Persian. Nothing really great at level 1 monthly splendor, but the dip rep 1 and 2 at the next 2 levels is not bad. If let's say you're playing as the Mughals or something like that, or you accept Persian culture as any nation really playing over here. Persian culture is one of those great ones to accept. If you look at the political map mode here for culture, Persian is quite big. It's probably the biggest in the region. So it's not a bad one to accept, especially because of the trade in this region is pretty valuable. So even if you wanted to statify this stuff as the Turks, you can go ahead and do that if you don't want to keep it as a trade region. So not too bad, but it's just dip rep, so it's not that great either. If you're stacking dip rep for whatever reason, like for example, if you're trying to do the straight talk achievement as Hormuz, this monument's pretty dang good. Take out some loans for it, get that 2 dip rep, and finish the achievement, which is what I will end up doing eventually when I get to that one. So because it's just dip rep and it's kind of expensive, we're going to probably put it in the C tier. I think you can use it pretty effectively, especially if you're doing a Mughals run. I've played a lot of Mughals, so that's why I probably rank it at C and not D, but we'll leave it at C tier. It's pretty okay. So this monument is Dharmic religion only, but the tolerances, I mean, they're just okay. Tolerance of heathens, true faith, heretics, good global modifiers to have, plus some dip rep. Again, but it is a Dharmic one. I would say it's just, I think it's just okay. The level 1 will give you extra dip rep, which makes it decent because it's flat 1 dip rep at level 1. But you have to really crank through these if you really want the tolerances. I think honestly, I might put this one in the D tier. The tolerances are maybe a C tier. The tolerances are better on this one than some of the other monuments that I ranked a little bit lower. It is religion specific, but it could be a lot better. It's really not that great, honestly. I would put my money in a lot of other things before I finish this monument off. The +1 dip rep at the first level makes it probably a D or a C and not a D, so we'll leave it into the C tier. That's okay. Right next door, we have the Great Living Chola Temples. This one starts at level 2, which is actually pretty good. You have to be a Dharmic religion, which is totally fine. Hindu runs are really good. Culture conversion-wise, there are quite a few culture conversion cost reductions for Hindu. So if you want to do a 1 culture run, Hindu is not a bad culture for it, or religion for the 1 culture run, quite honestly. Plus, some missionary strength for Hindus is always welcome too. So I might honestly rank this one pretty high, surprisingly, even though it's very specific to the Hindu nations. Yeah, let's throw this one into the B tier, I think. It's so specific, I can't put it in A tier, I can't justify that. But if you want to do culture conversions, get some loyalty and missionary strength as a Hindu, this is definitely something to put some money into. Plus, it starts at level 2, so if you're playing as Vijayanagar, the missionary strength is really nice, and the loyalty for your Brahmins is top-notch as well. So definitely keep this one over here into the B tier. This one, honestly, I'm going to put it in S tier. The Great Mosque of Jen. You can access this as pretty much any nation trying to do restore the caliphate, or any Sunni nation. If you really went out of your way to stack missionary strength bonuses, if you want to do a 1 faith, this is a fantastic monument. 3% missionary strength, a bonus missionary, and 0.3 piety accelerator. Super easy to get if you're playing as like the Ottomans, the Mamluks, any country over here. If you're playing a Sunni nation over here, even if you're going for like just all of Africa in general, if you're playing as like a Sunni Congo or something like that, being able to convert everything is really nice. So I stack this with some other religious monuments where you get some more missionary strength, maybe some tolerance of the true faith. That piety accelerator lets you exploit manpower very frequently, which just makes your conquest really, really good. As an example, this is one of those monuments where I dump and take loans out and dump money into. If I played as Najd Horde going for a Jihad achievement, that is one of those monuments where it is top tier for sure. So again, personal preference, I'm going to throw this one in the S tier, quite frankly. Very useful. So this monument, the Gyeongbok Palace in Hansong, Korea, this is a fantastic monument too. The monthly Monarch admin skill that you get from this monument is not to be overlooked. Even at level 1 and 2 where it starts, for Korea, your advisor cost is at minus 10%, and your Monarch gets an extra admin skill. It bumps up to 2 when you upgrade it for the 3rd time. So plus 2 monthly Monarch points admin skill. It's just, and 20% advisor cost reduction. This is part of the reason why Korea plays so tall, because they get so many points from their monarchs. It's a fantastic monument. Unfortunately, you have to be Confucian to use it. So you're really only limited to like a Ming or a Korea run, but it's super, super strong. So because you have to be Confucian to use it, it's only getting an A tier. Otherwise, this would be an S tier for sure. For sure an S tier monument, if not. So the next monument is the Hagia Sophia. This one is pretty accessible. You have to be Christian or you have to be Muslim to use it. So pretty much everyone can use it. It starts at level 1 or 2, depending on if you take the province or your Byzantium to start. So it's definitely useful. It gives you piety accelerator as well if you up it to the higher tiers as the Ottomans, which is always nice. And just because it's accessible, I might rate this one a little bit higher. So let's throw the Hagia Sophia at the A tier, honestly, just because it's very usable for all kinds of nations. So A tier for sure. If it didn't start at level 2 or 1, I might put it in the C tier, but or the B tier rather, not the C tier. But I think a solid A tier for that is fair. The next monument is Hampi. This one is in Vijayanagar to start. It's good for religious unity if you're the right religion. I mean, it gives you 10% at level 1, which is already has 25% at level 2, which is pretty solid, and you keep going forward. All it does is change the loyalty and the yearly prestige bonuses, which is not that important, honestly, between 2 and 3. So if you get this one, just leave it at 2. You don't need to put the 5,000 ducats into it and then the extra to speed it up just to get it to level 3. So because it's decent, not great, you have to be the right religion. Definitely not an A tier, something less than that for sure. So I think definitely put this one in the B tier. It's not bad enough to put it in the C tier, so we're going to leave that one in a solid B. So this monument is actually really good. So this monument starts in a doll. You get some prestige firm development for a missionary. You have to be Muslim to use it. Not very good at level 1. Level 2, stab cost modifier, 10%. Okay, now you're starting to see some mana point savings. Level 3 is where it gets really great. 25% stab cost, and the monthly piety decision to embrace legalism or mysticism unlocks at 50, which is fantastic. This might even bump it up to the S tier. That plus the flat institution growth bonuses, even at level 1, it gets 0.25. So you're going to be able to spawn institutions naturally in this region. I had this one at A tier, but I forgot about the piety mechanic, so we're going to bump this one up to an S tier. This is a fantastic monument. Must have for every Sunni nation, for sure. So let's throw this one over into the S tier, and we'll move on to the next monument. So if you are playing as a Hindu nation, this is probably, I would say, the best monument that you can put your points into, your money into. Minimum autonomy and territories. So not so great at level 1. At level 2, you get 10% minimum autonomy and territories. So honestly, taking out loans to get this level 2 is wise if you're Hindu. So instead of your territories being, 80% or whatever it ends up being, or 90%, you're going to end up with a huge savings in your minimum autonomy. And the more you stack that minimum autonomy and territories, like let's say if you're economic hegemon, you're getting full value, almost not full value, but you're getting some serious value out of your territories. And that just makes you super, super strong. So if you're playing like a big blob, this monument is insane. I did a game as a Hindu horde recently. Because I'm a horde, I'm blobbing out all over here. My territories are innumerable. I cannot statify everything. And because of this monument, I was able to get crazy manpower, crazy money, and a snowball really, really quickly. So this is probably a top tier monument for sure for Hindus. So yeah, this monument is going to be an easy S tier for me. Easy, easy S tier. Our next monument is a cathedral in Norway here. You can access this as any Christian nation, and it can give you a bonus missionary. Minus 2.5% stab cost at level 1. Not good. Extra missionary at level 2. Minus 10% maintenance. Pretty good. The extra missionaries makes it worth it to level up to 2. And the maintenance increase from 10 to 20% at the 3rd level is not crazy worth it. But getting this monument at level 2 is something that you need to do at some point if you're doing like a Catholic 1 faith or something like that. For that reason, it's not like a D or a F tier. It's just really, really minimal modifiers for a lot of investment. But the missionary makes it valuable if you are, converting a lot of provinces as a Catholic. So I'll give it something there. So only because it's decent for the 1 missionary, we're going to put it in the B tier. Otherwise, it would be a C tier for sure. The next monument is over here in Harima, the Himeji Castle. It starts at level 1. You get some yearly prestige, local defensiveness. Level 2, you get some spy detection and spy network construction. I mean, at what point in the game is the spy network construction 15% really going to matter? It's not going to matter. Maybe some spy detection if you're playing an MP might be valuable for you. But otherwise, this is an F tier monument. This is just, it's not going to be good. So we're just going to throw it in F tier. So place this one over here in the F tier, and let's move on. Next, we're moving on to the Historical Center of Prague, and this monument is pretty good, and I will tell you why. So if you're playing for the Emperorship, if you're playing as Bohemia, Austria, anybody really, you're going to want this province at some point if you're going to pass the reforms. The reason being that it gives you Imperial Authority modifier 0.05, 0.1, and 0.15. So this is going to give you a flat Imperial growth modifier that will really help you pass these reforms pretty quickly, and even just protect you against heretic princes and provinces outside the Empire and things like that. If you don't want to deal with it, you can kind of subsidize those modifiers with this one. It needs to be your religion, so it needs to be, if Bohemia is Hussite, they need to have, this province needs to be, how do I say this? This province needs to be the religion of the overlord. So Bohemia does not actually have access to this until they convert this out of Hussite, or if they flip the Hussite for whatever reason, if you're the player, if you flip the Hussite, you'd be able to get this at tier 2 really, really quickly, and then loan up to get it to tier 3, because why not? You're going to have the emperorship at some point anyways. Or if you're Austria, when you go to PU Bohemia, a strategy is to take Prague for yourself and just have Bohemia be your personal union without Prague, just so you can have access to this monument. And then you can convert the Hussites by like exploiting dev and stating the province and then throwing the edict on for the enforced religious unity. So that's one thing that you can do to pass these reforms faster. And because passing reforms quickly is very, very good, we're going to put this monument in the S tier, right up here. So it's just too valuable to not utilize this if you're doing an emperor run. So make sure to remember to take this province and convert it to your religion if you are playing as the Emperor of the HRE and trying to revoke the privilege or something like that. Next, we have the Holy City of Jerusalem. Over here, the Mamluks started with it at level 2 at the start. So you need to be Muslim, Christian, or Jewish to use this. It gives you conversion strength versus heretics. That's not as good as versus heathens. It gives you some small bonuses to papal influence, an extra missionary at level 3, church power, things like that. If you can find a use for the heretics conversion, go for it. So like if you're Shia, for example, you want to convert the Sunni stuff, really good, but odds of you being Shia over here are not very high. So if you can find a use to convert the heretics, very good to get Jerusalem. That's absolutely there. If it was for heathens, it'd be a lot better. But for that reason, I'm going to have to rank it a little bit lower. So because it's heretics and not heathens, I'm going to give this one a C. The modifiers are not good. And you really can't use that conversion strength to that level of effect, honestly. So we'll have to put that at C tier, I think. The next monument is the Holy City of Kairouan. This is in Tunis. It starts at level 2, which is pretty solid. You get some tolerance to the True Faith and institution spread in True Faith provinces. You have to be Muslim to use it. Once you're at level 3, you get a monthly piety accelerator to 0.03. It's a piety accelerator at 0.2 and 1. So even if you take this province as the Ottomans or the Mamluks and you have to bump it up to level 2 or 3, that piety accelerator is really strong. If it didn't have the piety accelerator, I would rank this a lot lower. Institution spread is nice, but it's not necessary. But again, piety accelerator is one of those modifiers that if you're Sunni, you really want to stack, because it's very important to click your piety interaction button more frequently. So for that reason, I'm going to rate this pretty high. I'm going to put this one in the A tier. It's definitely a strong monument. It starts at level 2, so for that reason, it gets extra points in my book. The piety accelerator, again, really good modifier, so we'll stay at A tier for that one. Next monument is the Imam Hussein and Al-Abbas Holy Shrines. So this one is a Shia-specific monument. You have to be Shia to use it, and it gives you missionary strength versus heretics, which is useful for Shia because you can convert all the Sunni stuff, and monthly piety accelerator and some loyalty. And it gives you a decent amount, even at the level 1 starting level. So for this reason, I'm probably going to rate it pretty high, just because it's a Shia-specific monument, and there's not many of those. So I think an A tier is justifiable for this one, just because if you're playing Shia, you kind of need this monument, and it's a very good use of your ducats, for sure. This is another one of those monuments that's really, really strong. It's religion locked, but a lot of religions have access to it. So you can be Theravada, Vajrayana, Mahayana, you can be Confucian, you can be Hindu and following Buddha, and you can get access to minimum autonomy and territory with this monument. The harmony increase is very good, so the Ming mission tree lets you go down here pretty quickly, so you can snake this province from Dai Viet pretty early on if you are playing as the Emperor of China. The minimum autonomy and territories, again, one of the stronger modifiers you can get if you're playing a big blobby game with lots of territories. So this is going to have to be at least an A tier. Let's go ahead and throw this one in the A tier. It's smaller levels of autonomy and territories than the last monument, so it has to stay in A tier, not quite an S tier. But I think, if you're playing in Ming and you have the religious requirements, maybe move that up to S tier. It's pretty good. Next, we have the Imperial city of Kyoto. Starts at level 1 in Ashikaga. You need Japanese as accepted culture. It gives you liberty, desire, and subjects. Level 1, 5%. That bumps up to 10%, and you get some loyalty. And then at level 3, you get some more loyalty. You get some bonuses to your leader when it's upgraded. And liberty, desire, and subjects minus 10%. So this is okay. You have to have Japanese accepted culture again, which either you're Japan or you're the Mughals, or maybe you're playing in Korea or China to really get that to happen. So you could force it if you really wanted the extra max absolutism, which is the only reason why this is a phenomenal monument. The absolutism is good. So if Mughals run, definitely definitely worth it. That would bump that up in my book by a couple pegs, because I do play them quite a bit for some reason. But yeah, good modifiers, but again, culture locked. So that brings it down a couple pegs. So because you need the right culture to get that absolutism and that loyalty, absolutism being the bigger of the modifiers, it's going to have to be an A tier. Otherwise, I would take it to an S tier just because of the source of absolutism of it. So put that one in the A tier. So the next monument is Inukshuk. This is a monument over here in Canada, and it is accessible by anybody. You don't need a specific culture or religion to use it. It gives you bonus promoted cultures, cost of advisor with ruler's culture at level 2. That's pretty good. 15% discount on your advisor is nothing to scoff at. And it gives you an extra 5% on the level 3 plus an additional promoted culture. So not too bad. Problem is, you got to get here first, man. And you can transport it back to your home country or whatever. But you got to get here first, which is... that becomes a problem. It's going to have to come down a few pegs for that. I might put it at like maybe a B tier because anyone can use it. You might as well. But it's got to come down a little bit. So we're going to have to put this one at a solid D tier, honestly. It's great if you're playing like as the United States, for example, where you're going to have a lot of different cultures. So to have those accepted cultures is really good. If you're playing in the New World in general, it's really good. But honestly, you have to get there first, D tier. So I like this next one a lot. This is the Iktan Kala in Kiva. It gives you some decent bonuses at the start of the game here. Center of Trade upgrade cost, that saves you, you know, about 20 ducats every time you do that, even at level 1. Placed merchant power modifier, so your merchants are going to be stronger, pushing and pulling trade. That's a huge point. Then the reduced trade penalty in non-main trade nodes. So if you collect in multiple trade nodes, you're going to get a penalty. That reduces that by up to 25%. So this is actually a really solid monument to get. So if you're playing a big... trade game, you're doing Mughals, you're doing Persia, you're playing any nation over that can access this monument that's collecting in maybe multiple sources. You're playing as Russia, for example. This is a great monument to snake down to. This can be very valuable for you. So for that reason, it's got to rank pretty high. So we have to put this one at least in the A tier. I think, honestly, it's an S tier. I take this monument a lot. I prioritize it over a lot of other monuments when I'm playing in this region, for sure, for sure. The next monument is Jokang Temple in Lhasa. You have to be the right religion to use it, but you get a small amount of religious unity and some missionary maintenance, karma decay if you're using karma. The missionary strength, you have to be level 2 to access that. I would say that's probably the bigger modifier of this tree. You can get up to level 2 missionary strength, but you have to be the right religion in order to use this monument. So it's decent, it's not fantastic, and you have to be the right religion, so that has to knock it down a couple pegs. So we're going to have to put Jokang Temple at a solid... I don't know, B tier maybe? Next one is Mecca. This one is fantastic, and I'll tell you why. It starts out pretty decent, so if you're playing as the Mamluks, for example, or the Ottomans, you're going to get down here eventually. You're going to get some decent stuff here. Certain missions unlock certain things for it. It gives you religious unity, some prestige. Level 2, you're going to get some war score cost versus other religions. That is an amazing modifier to have. The 5% and then 10%. For that modifier alone, this is one of the best monuments in the game. You can use that war score cost to invade Europe, to attack other nations in China. It really helps you blob out, especially when absolutism hits. You have some admin efficiency under your belt. You can take vast swaths of land, release a bunch of vassals. You take a lot less wars to annex certain countries. As an example, it's useful if you invade Iberia. If you fully annex the colonizers, if you didn't know, you inherit their colonies. So it takes like maybe 3 wars instead of 4 wars to fully annex Spain, which will save you some time, some truce breaks, and make the wars a lot easier for you. So we're going to put this in an S tier for sure. The next monument is the Kemwatstadi Palace over in Pegu. This province is pretty decently easy to get, especially if you're putting up some trade companies over here. You can either take it by force or see if you can buy it. I think it's their capital city, so they don't want to sell it to you, but you should be able to get this monument pretty easily, as any nation, really, and any nation can use it. Even at level 1, it gives you diplomatic advisor cost and dip rep +1, so it's definitely worth it just to get some higher level advisors for cheaper, even at the first level here. But if you get it up to the 3rd level, you get all advisor costs minus 20%, some extra relations, and extra dip rep. So those extra relations will come in handy, especially if you're playing a game with a lot of vassals, a lot of, for example, released subjects over in China if you don't want to hold land yourself. If you're playing a colonial game, very, very good. Advisor cost, also one of the better modifiers too, that people go and don't think too highly of. So because it saves me 20% on all my ridiculous advisors, S tier. Anyone can use it, S tier. It's a very easy to use monument, and I think it's very good. I use it all the time. Next monument, The Kashi Vishwanath Temple. This one you have to be Hindu, I believe, or Dharmic to be able to access it. But level 1, 5% core creation cost, fantastic. And that goes all the way up until 10%, plus some loyalty and aggressive expansion reduction. This monument has all the modifiers you want if you want to blob out and eat a lot of the world. Only downside is you can't be the Mughals to use it. People were cheesing it and doing a Hindu Mughals and just conquering the world way too quickly, so they changed it. I do believe that was an added thing. That wasn't there when the monument came out, but it is now. Doesn't matter. I played a game as a Hindu horde recently, and this monument really helped me lower my core creation costs and just let me annex a lot of Asia proper here. So a fantastic monument. We're going to have to rate that one probably in the S tier. Yeah, this monument for sure in the S tier. We have quite a few S tier monuments up here. Not so many down in the D tier, so there aren't many that are really bad. In the F tier, again, not too many down there as well. We have a long ways to go, so stay with us here. And if you made it this far already, consider subscribing. It's really going to help out the channel. We're trying to post a lot more lately, and we're going to be continuing to do EU4 and EU5 content. So if you like this stuff, make sure to subscribe. It'll really help me out more than you realize. So we're trying to get to 20,000 subscribers before the end of summer. It's going to be a long summer. I'm going to try to get as much content out as I possibly can. Next monument, the Kazan Kremlin. This one can be used by any nation, which is great. And it also lets you upgrade the great projects for cheaper. Even at level 1, 10% on your upgrade time. So it's going to save you time, which is money. So I like to get this one if I'm going to upgrade a lot of monuments all at once. I'll take some loans out, pump this one up, and then after that I'll do the other monuments. Or even if you just want to upgrade it a couple times, you know, here and there, at least get that 20% reduction in the tier 2, because this jumps from 10% to 20% and then only to 5% at the 3rd level. So even just getting this to tier 2 is going to save you a lot of ducats in the long run if you're upgrading a lot of monuments, and for that reason I think it's pretty good. I had this one maybe being a B tier because it's only saving you some ducats, but because you're able to use it to make the other monuments better, I'm gonna have to bump it up to an A tier from a B tier. I think it's actually a decent monument. The next monument is the Khajuraho in Mahoba in India. Here you have to be Dharmic or Hindu to use it. It gives your heir better chances of new heir claim increase. This is not a very good modifier, honestly. Your heir is gonna go up in claim no matter what. Chances of your heir really, if you dying without an heir, I mean, whatever, you lose some stability, you get a random ruler. It's not a big deal. So quite frankly, I think this monument's kind of a waste of ducats. So I'm gonna have to rate that one pretty poorly. So yeah, this monument, unfortunately, that's gonna be an F tier. F tier is now outpacing the D tier. We'll see how many F tiers we have at the end of this. So the next one is the Kiev Petrus Lavra. This is a church over in Lithuania here. It gives you patriarch authority, so that's actually pretty good if you're playing as an Orthodox nation, which I believe you have to be to use this monument. And Orthodox is one of the stronger religions in the game. If you didn't know, it helps you get a crazy amount of manpower if you use your patriarch authority effectively. So tolerance of the true faith, also a good modifier. If you complete some missions, you get some extra missionaries. So this one's actually pretty decent, but because it's situational, you have to be Orthodox to use it. Not everyone's going to be taking advantage of this one. I'll put it down maybe another peg, but it's an overall a decent Orthodox monument. So we're going to put this one, I think, in the B tier. It could be A tier. I really don't play Orthodox too often, or at least not effectively, so this might even be an S tier for all I know, but I'm going to put it at the B tier for what I know in the current moment. The next monument is over down in Kilwa City. It starts at level 2 if you're Kilwa. You have to be Muslim to use it, which means it's pretty accessible for most of the world, and it gives you some bonus to your ship trade power. So it's a decent trade bonus. Monument gives you your merchants a little bit stronger, so you can push more trade to Zanzibar. Zanzibar is actually one of the stronger trade nodes in the game, actually. So it's fairly wealthy down here. So this monument helps you keep that trade in Zanzibar, stops it from going around the Horn to the Europeans. So it's actually pretty decent, especially once you get it to the max level, the plus 30 and the plus 4 merchant trade power. So not too bad at all. I mean, it's not fantastic, nothing to write home about, but if I'm playing over in Zanzibar, for example, I'm going to be taking this. If I'm not playing over in Zanzibar, it's not a high priority, but it's definitely valuable for sure. So Kilwa City, I think a solid B tier for sure. Hasn't quite earned a spot on the A tier, but at least a B tier. Next monument is the Krakow Cloth Hall. Level 1 gives you a free merchant. So Poland starts with an extra merchant, which is always nice if you're playing as Poland. The next one gives you 5% global trade power, so nothing crazy at the next level. But then at the 3rd level, it gives you an extra merchant and another 5% global trade power. So that trade power is pretty good. The extra merchant, even better. So I think that's overall a pretty good monument, especially since anyone can use it. Otherwise, I'd say it's probably a B tier monument. but we might bump it up to an A tier, I think. Not quite an S tier, but definitely an A tier monument for sure. So let's bump the Cloth Hall up to A tier, and let's go on to the next monument. So the next one is the Kronborg in Sjælland here in Copenhagen. This one gives you Navy's tradition from protecting trade and some flat mercantilism when you upgrade it. Not crazy. So once you upgrade it to level 2, extra mercantilism, it's an extra 25% Navy tradition. Combat off of own coast. That is the one redeeming quality of this. So if you're playing in Scandinavia and you're fighting right here, in particular, just right here, you're going to be getting good rolls for your galleys. So that's fine and dandy, but it's really not applicable unless you're going to be fighting here every single time. So I don't know if you're going to be able to use this effectively. Yeah, it's really not that great. It's very situational, so it's not going to be that good. So unfortunately, we're going to have to put the Kronborg in the F tier. Just combat bonus off own coast. Getting some extra Navy tradition is not valuable to me in most any situation. The next monument down here is a fetishist exclusive monument, I do believe, or rather, you just have to have Congo as accepted culture. So, not too bad. It gives you some reform progress growth and institution spread in True Faith provinces. So, if you're playing down here, you're going to need that because it'll take a while for the Europeans to get there, and you're going to be catching up on texts because you're developing them. You can't really buy them from anybody. So you have to develop the text, and you really need to save some points and some money. So having that institution spread and the reform progress growth is going to help you get through your reforms, reform into a horde or whatever. I don't know why I'm still under Portugal's tag, but I am. You're going to be able to reform a lot quicker, and it's going to be very helpful. This region is very hard to play in because you're so isolated from everybody else. So I think this monument is definitely underrated. But again, if you have it as accepted culture, it's good. So if you're in this region, if you're playing in Africa here, you kind of need to get this at some point. So it's not fantastic, amazing. So I'm not going to put it in A tier, but I think it's at least a B tier just because of where it's located, how easy it is to access it if you're playing down here. And you almost need it if you're playing down here. So I would definitely recommend getting it at some point if you're playing as Congo or you're playing, God forbid, as Rwanda or somebody up here in the Great Lakes. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that one. Next monument is Machu Picchu. This one, I do believe you have to be in the Andean culture or have it accepted, and it gives you some idea cost at level 1, which is great because you definitely need it down here. Level 2, you get more idea cost. Level 3, you get more, and you get the reform progress growth. So that's overall pretty decent, especially if you're down here, you kind of need it. Otherwise, it's not that great because it is culture locked, so definitely good. If you're playing, somewhere down here. I can't imagine too many nations using it outside of the Inca, but if you do accept the culture, you could use it as anybody else, really. For example, if you wanted to move your capital to the New World as the Mughals, you can get even more idea cost reduction. So that's just another thing you could do there, or just accept the culture in general. So yeah, it's an okay monument in my book, but not great. We'll put Machu Picchu in the B tier, just because you kind of need it if you're playing as Inca. But not higher than that. The next monument, you can get this as any Muslim nation, is the Maidan-i Naqsh-i Jahan over here in Ajam in Persia. This province gives you monthly splendor and yearly legitimacy, as well as some prestige per development of missionary, and that's all it gives you. And not even a lot of it at that. This is not a great monument. There's a lot better monuments. For example, I'd rather dump my money into this one, which is more or less accessible by the same kind of countries that can access the other one, just to get the dip rep. So having another good monument nearby that's even not the greatest to begin with, that I'd rather have over this one, really says something about how much I would value this monument, which is not a lot. So this monument, unfortunately, going to go into the F tier. Next monument is the Malbuck Castle in Marienburg in the Teutonic Order. This is over in Prussia. It starts at level 2, which I guess makes it a little bit better. But it gives you garrison size, yearly legitimacy, and mercenary cost, as well as some bonuses for defensiveness in the area, as well as autonomy change. But just getting a little bit of extra garrison size is very situational. Again, any country can use this monument, so there's that, but really it's not fantastic. Not bad enough to be in the F tier, not good enough to be in the C tier. So I think this one's going to have to sit at a D. All right, so the Malbuck Castle is going to go to the D tier, and let's do the next monument. You already know the Malta Forts are going to go in the S tier. If you don't know what the Malta Forts are, they're a fantastic monument. Any country can use them, which means they're fantastic, and that gives you war score versus other religions. 5%, 10%, and 15%, as well as some local bonuses to defensiveness. But that war score cost versus other religions alone makes it really valuable. Also, usually it's owned by the Knights, sometimes it's owned by Aragon, sometimes it's owned by Naples. So this province is one of those things that, and because it's so low dev, you can take it. You go to war with any of these guys as co-belligerents. Let's say you go to war with Naples, they're independent, and they're allied to Aragon or the Knights. You can just take this from one of the non-co-belligerents, and you're not going to suffer too much aggressive expansion for it, or even too much dip unjustified demands cost for it. And you can just start bumping up this war score cost versus other religions. It'll really help you invade Iberia or any of the Christian world as a Sunni nation, or vice versa if you're going on a crusade. Or it'll really help you take 15% more land from the Ottomans or the Mamluks or anybody really if you're invading the Muslim world or even going over into Asia. So it's very, very valuable. That's for absolute certain. So Multiforts, easy S tier. Pick it up every time if you can. It's just so valuable. The next monument is the Mausoleum at Halicarnassus. This one can be used by any nation. It makes your leader live 10% longer. It gives you a prestige, monthly splendor, and a longer lifespan. Any nation can use this, which is why it's not an F tier. But again, these modifiers, not great. I mean, you could get extra splendor, get the age bonuses faster, sure, why not? But not for 5,000 ducats, I'm not going to do that. So, not great, not good. And for those reasons, I'm out. We're going to put this one in the D tier, could be F tier, but anyone can use it again, so it's a D tier. Next monument is the Marangar Forts. So this one gives you prestige, local defensiveness, and once you get it to the max level, special unit force limit, and all advisor costs. So the advisor costs 10%, and then 20% at 2 and 3. Any nation can use this. This can be really stacked with a few other things. Like, for example, you can stack this fort with the Pegu Monument, and you can get 40% advisor cost pretty quickly. So, like, let's say you're playing Great Britain and you're colonizing India or something like that, and you get both these monuments to level 3. That's 40% just free advisor cost reduction. So it's actually pretty decent, just because anyone can use it. So not bad at all. Not S tier, not B tier. So the Marangar Fort, we're going to put at an A rank. Stacking that advisor cost is really, really good in the later stages of the game when you have some money to spare. So pretty solid monument all around. The next monument is Maui here over on Rapa Nui. This is an uncolonized island at the start of the game. Tagged into Portugal just so I could show you the monument here. This one gives you religious unity and tolerance of the true faith, as well as tolerance of heretics. The culture in the province needs to be accepted, though. So this is really only useful if you are playing as a Polynesian. Otherwise, it's completely useless. So this is going to have to be an easy. I would put this in F tier, but you can use it as the Mughals, or if you are accepting Polynesian culture. So I have to put it, I think, in the D tier. It's not that great, but good religious unity if you can use it. And the tolerance of the true faith is also always a good modifier. So yeah, this is going to have to stay in the D tier. I was thinking maybe the C tier, but I play too much Mughals. It's definitely a D tier thing. I wouldn't quite put it in F tier, but D tier for sure. The next monument is the Moscow Kremlin. This starts at level 1 for Muscovy. It gives you local defensiveness and manpower in the province. That goes up with each level. And then eventually you get global regiment cost minus 10%. Overall, this monument is really expensive for very minimal gain. I'm going to have to put this really low, I think. So Moscow Kremlin, unfortunately, is going to have to be in the, honestly, F tier, I think. I think Moscow Kremlin's an F tier monument. Regiment cost is okay. It's just really expensive for what you get. The next monument is Mount Fuji over here in Japan. This one is also not that great. Local defensiveness. Once you get it to the 3rd level, you get yearly prestige globally, and you get tax modifier, devastation in the area. It's mostly just a regional monument that doesn't provide too many good bonuses. So for that reason, this one's going to have to rank pretty low too. Sorry, Mount Fuji lovers, you're going to be in the F tier. Love to be there someday. Love to go and hike up the mountain there, but nope, F tier in EU4, that's for sure. Next monument, this one is pretty good. Again, uncolonized province. Once you get there, you can get settler increase, global settler increase, an extra 5 points plus Navy tradition. And the last one is the settler chance 5%. If you are colonizing as Portugal or anybody, you want to get to this island as fast as you can. So you want to send some of your colonists to island hop so you can get colonial range of this. Get this as fast as you can, and then bump out some loans to get these colonies cranking out faster. It will pay itself back when you get these colonies a little bit faster. It's absolutely a fantastic monument to have. Just that extra settler increase is going to speed up your colonization by years. So one of the best colonizing monuments in the game, going to have to be an S tier. It has to be. Very fast and easy to get monument. All you have to do is colonize the province before anybody else, which, as a player, you should be able to do, if that is your focus. And let's move on to the next monument. The next one over here is the Narkala Fortress in Tbilisi, in Georgia. So this one, the way it works is you get these province modifiers, 50% defensiveness, local fort maintenance, and local assault fort ability. If you move it up to the tier 2, you'll see that it goes to the area versus the province. And at tier 3, the modifiers go to the region. So if you go look over here at the geographic map mode, the area is going to be just this state here, and the region is going to be the entire of the Caucasus here. And that's pretty decent. This is decent. Like, let's say you're Russia. This is your border with the Ottomans. And anybody else, or vice versa. If you're the Ottomans, this is your border with Russia, or if you're Georgia or somebody else, it's going to be right in your homeland, so it'll be harder to siege down. But if this is one of your bordering provinces, I can see a niche case for this being pretty valuable. Otherwise, it's not that great. Like, if I'm playing as, like, you know, Great Britain or France or Italy or something, and I want to, you know, have provinces over here, I'm not going to be dumping 5,000 ducats to get this to have a little bit better fort defense, because my forts are going to be in a lot better positions. But again, if you're like the Ottomans or Russia, I would say this is definitely a must-have monument. If you're having trouble on the border, fighting and sieging this area is incredibly difficult with this monument maxed out. So keep that in mind. Otherwise, this would have been an F tier. It's a little better than an F tier, that's for sure. So because it is useful, especially even at the lower levels of it, just having a fort in that state or on the province itself having some use, it's not an F tier. It's D. You could make an argument for it to be C tier, but for me, it's going to be usually a D tier monument. But anyone can use it if you so choose to. The next monument is the Maroon Jandira Fort. This is a province that the Portuguese can get via missions. It gives you naval force limits, naval tradition, maintenance modifier, and admiral cost. This can actually be really good if you're focusing on your navy quite heavily. I usually don't. And these are some modifiers that you can live without. Usually your naval force limit, you're either going over or it's not costing you that much to go over if you need to go over your force limit for the navy versus your army maintenance. Not terribly expensive. So this monument, again, nice to have, not necessary. The force limits and the maintenance it's great, but it's naval, so you're not going to get a crazy amount of value out of it. So it's not going to be the highest ranking monument, but anyone can use it, so that is a plus. So if you need to put your money somewhere and you're running out of buildings, this is an option. So a little bit out of order, I probably should have done this one first if I'm going alphabetical, but I caught myself. We're going to put this one into the D tier, though. Unfortunately, it's not the most fantastic monument in the world, but anyone can use it, so if you can, throw some money in at it. But otherwise, put it into manufacturers or something more valuable. The next one is pretty good. I take this in a lot of games. This is the Nizwa Fort. So you just need to have this province, and you can use it as any nation. So there's no religion or culture lock. It doesn't give you much at first. You get the global autonomy change. You get max absolutism at level 2 plus 5 and at level 3 plus 10. So the last two levels of this are really, really good for getting your max absolutism up. This will let you put extra privileges on. It'll get you closer to that 100, which is like the soft cap for absolutism. And it's just all around really valuable. So this is one that I highly recommend getting in almost every game at some point if you can. So Nizwa Fort, fantastic. So obviously I really like this monument. I'm going to put that in the S tier. The next monument is Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. This starts at level 2, which is actually really good because you get tolerance of the true faith. So France gets an extra, more or less, unrest reduction at the start of the game. And you can bump that up to level 3 and get some extra tolerance plus some religious unity. I'm a big fan of tolerance of the true faith. It's one of those modifiers you can keep stacking via monuments if you so choose to go out of your way to do that. And it makes your country really, really stable, especially when you're overextended, which is why I like it. And the religious unity is just another kicker there. The church power, the monthly fervor, and the papal influence is nice. It just makes your religious mechanics come more frequently, more or less. So overall, it's definitely a good monument. So Notre Dame, you are going to have to go up to the A tier. Next monument is the Palace of the Popes over here at Avignon. This one kind of just gives you more or less kind of mid religious bonuses if you are Catholic, or if you're Christian in general. As you can see at the max rank, it gives you 33% church power, which is actually a decent increase. You get some loyalty for the clergy, papal influence, but I don't think it's as good as Notre Dame, because that one gives you the tolerance, obviously, and this one is a much better at level 2. So it starts at level 1 at least, which is nice. You can get some splendor if you're the Pope every time you upgrade it, so power projection and some splendor, but overall, it's kind of a mid-tier monument for sure. It can be used by a lot of nations because it is a Christian monument, but I don't think it can qualify as A tier. It's not C tier, so it's going to have to settle in the B tier. Next monument is the Parthenon in Athens. This one you need to have Greek or Roman or Athenian culture, and the religion here needs to either, or the religion needs to be pagan, which it's not going to be. You're more or less going to be Orthodox or Sunni or something here. But if the culture is Greek or Athenian and is accepted, or even Roman, if you do form Rome and get Roman culture unlocked, the Parthenon is going to be valuable. It's one of those things where you can stack those advisor costs. So, you stack this with those other 2 advisor cost monuments over in India, and you can get 60% advisor cost reduction, plus whatever other ridiculous advisor cost reductions you can get from your ideas and whatever else. So it's really good if you have the accepted culture. Otherwise, not very good because it's hard to get that culture accepted. You really don't really want to be Greek unless you're doing a Byzantium run. So personally for me, because you need to accept this culture to get these bonuses for the advisor costs and the possible advisors, this is going to have to be either a B or a C. I wouldn't put it in an A tier. It is very good if you are playing as Byzantium or a Greek culture nation, but otherwise you're never going to upgrade this one. So I'm going to have to put it either at C or a B, I think. And honestly, I'm leaning more towards the C, just because it's very hard to play as a Greek nation unless you're playing Greece itself or Byzantium. And as a Byzantium run, you're going to do one of those every now and then, maybe. Otherwise, you're just going to ignore this completely. So going to have to sit on the C tier, sadly. The next monument is Petra in Ma'an. This one, you have to have Syrian or Bedouin or even Roman as accepted culture. So a lot of these do let you use them if you are playing as Rome, which is nice. It's a nice quality of life if you form Rome, especially if you form Rome early and you want to roleplay a little bit towards the end of the game, or even go for world conquest, that too. This one gives you that envoy travel time. So if you are playing a big blobby Rome, this is very good. That envoy travel time, again, I said earlier, do not sleep on it. The Diplo reputation and the Diplo relations is also very good. But again, you have to have that culture accepted, so you're not going to be able to use this too often. But if you're playing in this region, it is pretty good, especially if you're playing a big and tall. So for instance, if you're accepting this culture as the Ottomans, which I would recommend probably, you can have that envoy travel time and use it pretty effectively. So I was going to say either C or a B tier, but quite frankly, I think that it's easy to use this if you accept the culture. I would probably put it in the B tier. Yeah, you know what? I'll put it in the B tier. Why not? Next monument is the Porcelain Tower of Nanjing. This one starts at level 2, so it's going to give you institution spread plus 20% when you're playing as Ming right away. And then that'll go up to 30%. So the institution spread, the embracement costs, it's going to save you a lot of time and money, and you kind of need it because you have so many provinces that are going to be stated at the start of the game. So I would say that this is more or less a built-in monument. I wouldn't go out of my way to upgrade it because it's only going to gain an extra 10% here. And local unrest, of course, too. But yeah, I would say overall it's pretty mid, which is all it needs to be considering it's more or less ready and rolling at the start of the game. And because it's already ready and rolling at the start of the game and, it's not too bad, we're going to put it into the C tier for sure. Very mid monument again, but I mean, don't knock it. It's pretty much free institution spread. Next monument is the Prambanan Temple. This one, again, if you have to be Hindu or Dharmic to use it. And it's going to give you more or less at level 1 here some dev costs, very minor. Level 2, that's going to go up a little bit. Missionary strength will go to 1%. And at the last level, missionary strength, 2% a missionary and 10% dev cost reduction. So if you're playing as a Hindu nation, this is a phenomenal monument to get. The 10% dev cost is really good, especially in like a multiplayer or a taller campaign. And the missionaries and missionary strengths will help you convert a lot faster. And Hindu needs a little bit of help on that conversion strength. But there are a lot of monuments that make it easier for Hindu to do that. So again, if you're doing a one faith, one culture, Hindu is not a bad religion to do it if you can get the right monuments rolling. So I think, honestly, I'm going to put this one in the A tier. I don't think it's good enough to be a S tier. Just because of the total amount of points you're going to get from it. The perks you get aren't that valuable for the ducats compared to other monuments, but definitely a solid A-tier monument for shizzle. The next monument, we're going to stay over in this region of the world, the Pura Basaki in Bali. This one's going to give you stab cost if you are a Hindu, a Dharmic religion. War exhaustion decreased as well. So national unrest in the final modifier there, and some additional stab costs. So 15% plus some loyalty. Again, I had a Hindu horde game going on. If I want to do a world conquest, I would have gone for this right away, and possibly done some truce breaks with that. The stab cost, very good, especially if you're going for horde. So if you haven't done a Hindu horde, I would recommend it. That is a very fun campaign. Regardless, unrest, stab cost, very good modifiers to have. If you're a Hindu nation, Hindu is a very strong religion. I would recommend giving it a try, and this monument is really going to help you out. So if you're Hindu, definitely go for the island of Java. Those monuments are very useful for you. So not as good as the last monument, but we're going to throw this one in the B tier. Very close to being an A tier. I think overall it's a good monument, so it settles fine just in B tier. Next monument is the Pyramid of Cheops in Cairo. This monument I don't think is fantastic. So yet again, you have to have the right culture, but it's giving you some loyalty and prestige decay. And that does not increase that high. You get half a prestige decay to get it to level 2, and then the loyalty doesn't really change when you get to level 3. It just gives you no stab loss on Monarch Death, which honestly, usually not too much of a problem in most runs, and that's 5,000 ducats you could spend on improving your economy, and I really don't think it's worth the investment for any of these. So this is probably one of my least favorite monuments in the entire region. So for that reason, I think Great Pyramid gets a F tier. Not very good. So the next monument is Chapak Nan over here in Quito. Again, it's one of those ones where you need to have Andean culture accepted. But if you are playing as Inca, you get the trade efficiency up to 20% and some reinforced speed. So your units are going to be reinforcing their losses pretty quickly. And you're going to get some other bonuses if you're playing Inca as well. So pretty valuable if you're playing Inca, otherwise completely useless. So can't be an S tier, but it's not too bad. So honestly, I probably can put this in the C tier. It's pretty average overall. But if you're playing Inca, it's pretty useful. This next one is a dandy, the Rajasthan Square over in Samarkand. This one will be owned by either the Timurids or Transaction or somebody over here at any point in the game. But for 1 point, you can get a piety accelerator and 10 stab cost. And for each point, you get an extra 5% stab cost and piety accelerator. And for the last one, you get a 10% increase to 25%. So this one is one of those provinces you need if you want to restore the caliphate. The piety accelerator is very nice. I always hype on that if you're playing a Muslim nation. So this is one of those monuments where it's actually pretty good to get. So I definitely wouldn't sleep on it, and I would put money into it as fast as I can, just so I can keep using that piety interaction as much as possible. So definitely a worth it monument, possibly S tier. And you know what? I use it all the time. I'm going to put it in the S tier. This is one of those ones I would recommend for anybody if you're playing a Muslim nation. It's just super, super good. Next monument is the Rila Monasteries over here in the Ottomans. So this one is one of those Orthodox monuments as well. So it gives you 30% stab cost and 25% religious unity. Really good if you're playing as Byzantium, as an example. If you're going for Orthodox, which you should if you're playing as Byzantium, because you're going to be having a lot of Sunni lands. So if you're not converting it, that religious unity is super, super important. And you can get at least 10% even at the level 1. So that's not bad at all. And the stab cost is also really helpful. It makes you save a lot of admin over time when you're playing in this region. So very strong Orthodox monument if you can get it as the Byzantines, Serbia, Albania, very valuable. So for that reason, I'm going to put this solidly in the A tier, and that's where it belongs, honestly. It's not quite an S tier because it's just for Orthodox, but for as far as Orthodox or religion-specific monuments go, it's one of the better ones. Speaking of religion-specific monuments, this is a Coptic monument over here in Lhasa in Ethiopia. It starts at level 2. You get some extra missionary strength, which will really help you convert some of the Sunni stuff around you to the correct religion, and it makes them a little bit cheaper. When you upgrade it to the next one, it gives you 2% versus 1%, so that's a steep increase. A 1% increase is probably worth the 5,000 ducats at some point in your run. So that's something that you should probably get if you're playing a Coptic nation. I can't really put any negative spins on this one for being a religious-specific one. If you're going Coptic, you know, obviously get it. If you're not, you really can't use it, but it's not too bad considering it starts at level 2. That's the big thing. And honestly, because it starts at level 2, it's going to go in the A tier instead of the B tier. Next monument, also really good. A lot of countries can take advantage of it because Naples usually goes through a succession crisis these days. So a lot of nations can invade them when they have no allies or get a union on them, and then eventually integrate and take this province, which can give you up to 100 governing capacity. Even at level 1, reform progress growth, not too bad. 10%, 50 gov cap. Okay, now it's getting better. And then that just gets really ridiculous once you get the extra 50 for the level 3. Any nation can take this. Any nation should take this. If you're running into GovCap problems, this is a province that, even if you just have Naples independent and take this for yourself, is super valuable to have. I would recommend doing it for, again, every nation that can. So that's going straight to the S tier, because it is really good. This next monument is over in Moscow again, St. Basil Cathedral. So this one is phenomenal. At level 1, 2 tolerance of true faith for all Christian nations. That is insane value for a level 1 monument. At level 2, all estate loyalty. Okay, pretty good. 10% cost of advisors with ruler's religion. That's not too hard to get, so that's going to save you 10% on that. And then at level 3, you're going to get even more loyalty and even more advisor cost reduction. Plus, if you're Orthodox, you get some other bonuses. So that is pretty good. I wouldn't say the S tier, but I would say this is definitely an A tier because that tolerance is insane. If that tolerance went up a little more, it'd be really broken. Obviously, these bonuses in general are pretty dang good. I might even put it in the S tier. I think I might. But overall, I think it's a solid A tier. At least get the first level of it as fast as you can if you are in Moscow, because that tolerance is really valuable. For 1,000 ducats plus some change, it's a no-brainer. It really is. Staying on the church train, we went from Cathedral to the Basilica of St. Peter in Rome. We're getting some cardinal cost and courier power cost. That's kind of mediocre. At level 2, you get some idea cost in there. And at level 3, that idea cost goes a little bit higher. Overall, it's pretty decent. I wouldn't say it's phenomenal. The loyalty for the clergy influence goes up, so that could become a problem possibly even. I would say this is definitely better than average, considering that any Christian nation can use it. Actually, no, it has to be Catholic. Only Catholic nations can use it. You're going to be using these interactions with your religion a little bit cheaper, so not too bad. Mostly the Pope is going to get some value out of this. I would say this is a little bit above average. So St. Peter's Basilica, honestly, I might put it in the B tier. Idea cost is nice. You have to be Catholic to use it, though. So, I mean, most of these nations can stay Catholic if you so choose to. But the other bonuses aren't that insane. But 10% idea cost for Catholics it's pretty good overall. So the next monument we're looking at is the Salvador de Bahia. This is another uncolonized province, usually going to be colonized by Portugal. So this is one where if you really wanted to, you could move yourself to the New World and take advantage of the colonizing bonuses that you're getting from this province or this monument. So if you really wanted to play like a tall Brazil game, that'd be pretty fine too. You're getting global trade power and global settler increase plus 20 just by having this at level 3, and any country can use this. So again, if you really were playing a colonial game and you want to colonize everything for yourself instead of using subject nations, you can use that extra 20 settlers, or your colonial subject in Brazil is going to colonize a lot faster for you. So overall, a very solid monument. Yeah, at least an A tier. If this wasn't an A tier, it would be an S tier in a very niche situation. Maybe a B tier if you're just going to use your colonial subjects there. But if you're playing in the region or you plan to have your capital in the New World, this jumps up to an A tier. So if you want to cheese something, bump it up a notch. I don't know. A or B tier. It doesn't really matter which, but it's a decent monument for sure. The next monument is the San Antonio Missions. This one you need to be Catholic, so you can't be Protestant or the other Christian religions. But this one's going to give you 1 missionary and up to 3% missionary strength versus heathens, and some institution spread in true faith provinces. So if you're playing as like Texas, for example, or Mexico, or a Catholic US or something like that in this area, this is a phenomenal province to have. It'd be great if you were playing as like Spain or something, move your capital over to the New World, and you could really convert all the heathens of the world, because they have really strong conversion strength in general. So if you wanted to move your capital over here, you could abuse that modifier. But overall, these bonuses, even if you're just playing as a New World nation, are really, really strong. So really strong conversion stuff. Obviously, that's going to get an S tier. Conversions are really important. Having the right faith in your provinces makes them more valuable, makes you stronger, gets you more manpower in a lot of situations. Top notch. So the fourth and final monument in Japan is the Sankin Kotai Palaces. These ones give you war tax cost up to 100% at the 3rd level. It also gives you a decreased general cost at the 2nd tier, 10%. That stays the same at the 3rd level. So it's going to make you generate a lot more professionalism if you're spamming your generals, and it's going to let you do war taxes for free in every war you do. So if you have Japanese culture, really, really strong. So if you're playing as Japan or Mughals or China, anyone who can accept Japanese culture, this is one of the stronger monuments in the region. So it has to be, honestly, at least an A tier, B tier. I wouldn't put it at S tier, but it's got to be up there. And free war taxes and cheap generals, that's an A tier for me, for sure. We got to talk about Timbuktu. So Timbuktu gives you institution spread, loyalty, and tech cost up to 10%, 50%, and 15% loyalty for every nation. This is not religion locked. You'd think it would be, but it's not. So if you're able to snake down through the Maghreb and into Timbuktu, or just go through Mali or through southern Central Africa here, you should be able to get to Timbuktu and take advantage of that crazy tech cost discount. That's 10%. Every nation should try and get Timbuktu if you are trying to blob out. Try and focus this really quickly, because 10% tech cost is insane. Honestly, this probably should be region locked because this region can fall behind, but it's not, so everyone can use it. And that makes it an S tier. So we're going to move this bad boy up to the S tier. We have quite a few S tier monuments, actually. More than we have the bad monuments, which I thought we'd have a lot more bad stuff than good stuff. So that goes to show some of these monuments can be really strong, especially in the right situation. The next monument is the Santa Maria del Fiore in Florence. So this one starts at level 2. Gives you 10% advisor cost reduction and monthly splendor. So you can start stacking that monthly splendor at the start of the game if you're an Italian nation over here. And at level 3, it gives you an extra 10% advisor cost reduction. So this is phenomenal. Again, stacking this with some of those other advisor cost reduction monuments can get you basically free advisors at some point in the game if you get all of them. And it's pretty good, especially since it starts at level 2. I would say this is probably one of the upper tiers. Yeah, so we're going to put this one, I think, in the A tier. It's not quite an S tier, but it starts at level 2. Good modifiers for advisor cost if you're Christian. Gotta be an A tier at least. Next monument is the Schönbrunn Palace. This one gives you diplomat at level 1, so that's really good, especially if you're playing Austria, which, if you're playing Austria, a diplomat is very important. So getting this to at least level 1 early is definitely advisable if you're playing an Austria Emperor campaign. Monthly splendor and chance for personal union inheritance. That's pretty decent. You're going to be having Bohemia and Hungary and the Poles, possibly Castile or England at some point. You're going to have a lot of personal unions if we're playing Austria. So having that inheritance chance is really good. And that goes up to 10% later on. And then also years of union integration, decent. This isn't an insane monument. I would say at least get to level 1. Because at a certain point, you really don't need to inherit your unions to become more powerful. They're just going to be added vassal swarms. You might not even want to. But the level 1 for the diplomats, very good, especially for Austria, makes them even stronger. They're already super strong. I would say it's definitely a good monument. So let's put this one in the A tier, I think. That belongs there. Just because the level 1 plus 1 diplomat and the region it's in, the country it's in, make it definitely one of the stronger monuments. Or back over in Pagu for the Shwedagon Pagoda. That's a monument over here in Dagon, and it doesn't really give you a lot. It gives you loyalty for your clergy and some karma decay, as well as local development cost and unrest reduction if you're the right religion. This is probably one of the weaker monuments. It doesn't give you that much other than the loyalty if you're the correct religion. If I was playing in this region, I wouldn't put money in here because, quite frankly, it's not going to give me too much. Maybe in absolutism, I might throw some ducats at it just so I can get that loyalty ticking up, and I can continue to revoke some of the privileges I gave out. But it's really not that good. So quite honestly, I think this one gonna have to be in the F tier or the D tier. It's probably closer to the F tier, honestly. There's really no value in this one. Next monument is over here in Karakunyulnu. This is the spiral minaret of Samarra here. And it can give you up to 3% missionary strength if you're a Muslim, as well as clergy loyalty. 3% missionary strength for a monument is really strong. It gives you 1% per, so it's really easy to gradually increase that. And 3% to help you convert nations to Sunni is insane. As an example, when I did my run as Najd, where I was a horde trying to convert everything, control every Sunni province in the world, this monument, plus all the other bonuses that I got for conversion strength, I didn't even need religious ideas. You don't need religious ideas to convert as Sunni. It is so easy with these monuments. This 3% is super, super strong. So for being, again, strong 3% missionary strength, honestly, anything with 3% missionary strength is going to get an A or an S tier for me. It's just super, super valuable. We're going to throw it in the S tier. Next, we have the Stonehenge over here in Hampshire in England. You can get this as England, but I'm pretty sure that's more or less the only people who can use Stonehenge. It's giving you some tolerance at level 3, and it's giving you some cost of advisors as well as some missionary strength. Otherwise, some stab cost. I mean, all of these are really good, but only England can use it, more or less. So Stonehenge, very mid. If you're England, actually pretty strong. Tolerance of true faith, advisor cost, stab cost, missionary strength. Overall, pretty decent, but you gotta be English or maybe have Roman culture. Super good, though. But because you have to be English to use it and take advantage of all those modifiers, it's a lot of modifiers you need to complete some missions for. We're gonna put Stonehenge in the B tier. I think it would be an A tier, maybe S tier, if you're, playing as England. Maybe not, maybe I wouldn't put it in the S tier. Definitely A tier, but overall a B tier. I mean, you can convert to English or whatever and get those cultures, but overall probably a B tier. We're back over in Constantinople, looking at the Sultan Ahmed Mosque. Level 1, this gives you very minimal true faith and development for missionaries. And even at level 2 and 3, you're getting 1 tolerance of the true faith and 0.3 development for missionaries. It's good, because, again, as I said earlier, tolerance of the true faith is a very good modifier to stack, but you have to get to level 3 just to get 1, so it's really expensive. So it's not useless, really expensive. So we're going to have to bump that down a couple notches, considering it really doesn't give you too much except for that local tax in Constantinople. So honestly, we're going to put this one, I think, in the C tier. I think it belongs in the C tier. We're back over in India here, looking at the Sun Temple of Konarak. This one starts at level 2, gives you 15% religious unity if you're Dharmic, but that's pretty much all it gives you, is 10, 15, and 25% religious unity. That's really not a lot. You have to be Dharmic to use it. I mean, if you need the religious unity, it's pretty good, but in most cases, you're really not going to be utilizing this monument, and upgrading it would just be a big waste, especially if it's already at level 2 or 1 when you get it. So I think I have to put this, kind of near the bottom of the list, honestly. Honestly, you know what? Just throw it in the F tier. It's not really that useful. Next, we're over in Kathmandu at the Swayambhunath. I cannot pronounce that. I'm so sorry if you're Tibetan. We have some local tax, some loyalty, and some missionary strength versus heretics over here. So you have to be the correct religions. Overall, some missionary strength is good, but overall, heretic religions versus heathens, I would say it's probably not the greatest. So I'm going to have to put this one probably pretty low too. So honestly, I think maybe a D tier for this one, because it's not that great. It would be an F tier if it wasn't for the missionary strength. Heretics is more useful than nothing at all. But it's not a lot of bonuses, even if you meet all the requirements for it. Back in India again, this time for the Taj Mahal. This one gives you Piety Accelerator and Prestige Decay if the province is a Muslim. So that goes up to 0.2 and 0.3, and gives you some more monthly Splendor and Prestige Decay. It's okay. The Piety Accelerator is probably the better of all of the modifiers. Prestige Decay is okay. But honestly, I think it's just kind of okay. Yeah, the Piety Accelerator is the main thing I would even get this in the first place. So for the Piety Accelerator, we're going to throw this one into a B tier. It's a solid B. So for the next monument, the Temple of Confucius, this I have a hard time pinning down, because I've really never played a Confucian campaign to a long extent. I've been putting that one off for a long while, because playing as a big nation, it's a lot more nuanced now than it used to be, but it's never really appealed to me as much as starting as somebody small. But getting up to 50% religious unity and the harmony increase. The harmony increase is probably the big thing, which lets you harmonize religions into your religion, getting some bonuses, making them count as accepted in your provinces is really important for Confucian. And these are pretty strong bonuses, 0.5 and 50% if you get it to level 3. Starts at level 1 already, so you're already getting the harmony increase and some free loyalty. So overall, I think this is a good monument. I would say probably A or B. Let's throw the Temple of Confucian into the go to the A tier. I think it's worth it A tier for sure. The next monument is over in Mexico in Tenochtitlan. This one is you have to, I believe, have the culture group Central American or accepted by owner. So I think if you have Nahuatl or Aztec culture accepted as a colonial nation, pretty good. Or if you're playing as Mexico or as Aztec, pretty good, just because the local dev cost and goods produced modifier. That 50% goods produced is pretty good for the gold that's produced in this province. Otherwise, it doesn't really give you that many modifiers. So it's definitely not a bad monument, not a great monument. At a certain point, gold isn't your primary source of income. So the 50% gold produced is not necessarily a deal breaker. So for that reason, I think this monument deserves a spot in the D rank, not an F rank. It's definitely not a C rank, though. I wouldn't put it up to C. So I think D is where it belongs. Next, we have the Forbidden City in Beijing. This one, you need to have Celestial Empire reform, so you need to be the Emperor of China. Otherwise, you can't use it. So the absolutism increase and the mandate growth, pretty good. I mean, they're not insane, but if you're playing as China, you're going to have a lot of money anyways. You're going to be able to fill this out and build these monuments because, I mean, just look at these. Where are they? I'll find one eventually, I swear. Here it is, the canals. Like, you need to be building these so that you don't get the devastating events. So you're going to be spending a lot of money, and you're going to have a lot of money. So you can afford to bump this up. And for that reason, I think it's probably at least a B tier. That absolutism increase is actually pretty decent. The prestige decay is pretty good. You're going to be able to use it. So at least a B tier, I think. Next, we have the Golden City over here in Nitra. This is a gold-producing province in Hungary. This monument can give you some decent bonuses. So if at level 3, you're going to get gold depletion chance, minus 33%, gold inflation modifier, minus 33%, interest per annum, minus 1, gold depletion chance in the province in general, minus 25%, get bonuses from Gold Rush. It's pretty good. I mean, it's probably worth it no matter what, if you're getting a lot of gold from this region, but it would be a lot better if there was more gold in the region in general. If you look over at the trade goods map mode, you might be able to get 3, maybe 4 gold mines if you're playing as Bohemia, Austria, you know, Hungary. So you're going to have the one in Austria, you're going to have the one in Bohemia, you're going to have the one in Serbia, and you're going to have this one. So pretty good. You have pretty much all of the gold in Europe here, aside from the stuff in Iberia and the Maghreb. But if you were, like, for say, down here, pretty good. I mean, gold depletion chance in general is going to be pretty decent. So, I mean, if you're going to own all this stuff for yourself, go for it. It's definitely good. If there was more gold in the region, it would be better. So I'm just saying this right now, so it's not going to be an S rank. It might not even be an A rank. But frankly, I think it's probably closer to being in the B rank. It's going to be good because you're going to have a lot of gold, but you have to make sure you focus on it. If you focus on the gold, bump it up to an A rank. You know, it's going to make you some money. If you're playing a taller campaign, definitely get it. I mean, if you have the money for it, obviously do it. But focus on building your economy in other ways, because I think it's more valuable to get this maybe later in the game. If you are expanding down in Africa where there is more gold, or you are taking stuff in the New World or something like that, I'm pretty sure this monument only applies to your provinces too, as far as the gold depletion chance goes. So just keep that in mind. I mean, it's pretty okay. This next one, gotta love to have it. It's not their capital. You can buy this as a trade company 99% of the time if you're trying to, you know, get trade companies in this region. Grand Palace of Bangkok. At level 1, 5% gov cap, yearly absolutism. Level 2, 0.5 yearly absolutism. 10% gov cap, extra vassal force limit contribution. That's a big one, especially if you're playing as the Emperor of the HRE, as an example. That's 30% more troops for your vassal swarm. That's awesome. 50% vassal force limit contribution. 50% more troops from your vassals. Not your vassals' troops themselves, but the troops you get from the vassals, you know, manpower in their provinces. And 10% aggressive expansion impact, and an extra 5% gov cap. This is great. Getting this right around 1600 is chef's kiss. One of the best monuments in the game. So obviously, we're gonna put that one up in the S tier. Just a solid monument. Up next, we have the Great Wall of China. This starts out at level 1. Again, you have to have the culture of Chinese or be the Emperor of China to use it. It's gonna give you local defensiveness, which is okay, but if you're playing as Ming, at the point where you're really gonna be using this, you're probably going to be expanding a little bit harder, where this isn't going to be, you're not going to be defending in this local area, if that makes sense. You are going to get the attrition for enemies. That's a big thing, because that's a global modifier. Your enemies are going to bleed to death slowly. That is why this monument is pretty decent, but you have to be Emperor of China to use it. So we're going to have to dock it a few points for that, but it is definitely a solid monument overall. I misspoke. You don't have to be the Emperor of China. That is one of the requirements. You have to have Chinese accepted. Regardless, can't be used by everybody. So this is going to be docked a few points, but if you have Chinese accepted, which a lot of people in this region are, that attrition for enemies is going to be massive. As an example, let's say if you are Russia and you accepted Chinese culture, might be pretty good. So if you are attrition stacking, I would say this is definitely at least in the B tier. It's a little expensive for just some enemy attrition, but I mean, that could save you thousands of ducats. So, I mean, you could prioritize that. I would say if you're playing in Russia and you want to accept Chinese culture, that's not a half bad idea. I've never done it, but you could probably do it. And just stack that attrition bonus, and then just watch as people bleed to death in Siberia every winter. That'd be kind of interesting to see. This next one is the White House. This province is not colonized at the start of the game. So colonizing this province and moving your capital over to the New World can make you pretty strong. The White House can give you up to 25% states governing cost. You also get re-election cost and reform progress growth. If you're a republic, re-election cost is nice. Reform progress growth is always good. But that states governing cost is the modifier that makes this a really strong monument. You have to be able to have your capital in North or South America in order to use this, or you have to be a former colonial nation or the United States. So you could have your capital in Europe and still use this if you owned, if you owned it and you were the United States or a former colonial nation. But you would get 25% states governing cost. So you can statify a lot of provinces. This costs a lot of GovCap to state up. So having that 25% reduced cost can make you a lot stronger. Having full states, taking full advantage of all of the bonuses from your provinces, it's definitely an S tier monument. There are lots of strategies where people full state the whole world because they are using the White House monument. It's an option. It's something you can do. It's cheesy. Not a lot of people take advantage of it. If you are in North America, you are playing a tall American campaign because you want to, this is a monument you want at tier 3 because you can statify everything. So if you're in the New World, you're in North or South America, get the White House. I'm going to say it. White House is S tier. White House is S tier because of that mechanic. You need it for statifying everything, getting that gov cap. It is super, super strong. Full stating everything in general is super strong, if you can. Next monument is Tikal over here in Peten. You have to have Mayan culture accepted in order to use this monument, but it gives you -2 unrest and -30% stab cost. So if you're doing like a Mayan sunset invasion, this is really, really strong because you can truce break, stab back up for really cheap. Unrest is not really a problem. The local unrest is over here, but it turns into national arrest when it's level 3. So it's much better when you're at level 3. Otherwise, you're just getting the stab cost. So I would say this is probably in the upper tiers of monuments if you have the right culture. I wouldn't say it's S tier. I mean, it might be if you use it effectively, but it's at least an A tier. I think it's really strong. 30% stab cost. I love stab cost as a modifier for monuments because truce breaking is really nice. And to stab back up is always really expensive. So when it's like 10 ducats or 10 admin to stab back up, it feels really, really good. Next monument is Tiwanaku. This is another one of those Inti ones. Gives religious unity and missionary strength, as well as some other Inca mechanics. If you're playing Inca, it's okay. 1% missionary strength. I might not dump 5,000 ducats into it unless I really need to. So I would say it's probably just an average monument. So if you're being average, they say C's get degrees. So we're going to throw this one in the C tier. So the next monument is going to be the Tomb of Shah Rukh Alam. So this one gives you tolerance at a pretty early level. So level 1, you're going to get some free tolerance if you're Muslim. And then you get extra opinion of heretics. Level 2 is really not necessary. But if you go from level 1 to level 3 all in one go, you get the extra tolerance of the true faith. And you get some bonus mechanics for inviting scholars to your nation. Doesn't cost you admin power anymore. And it's just really good in general. So tolerance stacking is always really solid, especially if you're Sunni. So I would recommend getting this one ASAP. If you're playing the Mughals or any Sunni nation like Delhi or Jaunpur or something over here, it is definitely one of the better monuments in the region. So for that reason, this province or this monument is going to go into the A tier. Next, we have another uncolonized province. This one is Tortuga Island. Anyone can use this. If you are playing a pirate, this is an almost must-have. 50% privateer efficiency, enemy ship chance, capture chance, and I guess some power projection, as well as this area gets some defensiveness. But that privateer efficiency is stupid broken. If you've ever played a pirate in the Caribbean, it is a lot of fun. So I'd recommend getting Tortuga if you're doing that. Even if you're not being a pirate, ship chance, capture chance, still pretty good. So for that reason, we'll have to keep it up on the list somewhere. It's definitely not near the bottom, but definitely not near the top either. I think Tortuga is a solid, I would say, B. Anyone can use it. If it was specific, I'd maybe put it in the C or D tier, but because you can use it as anybody, definitely very good. This next one's kind of tricky to place on the tier list. Tower of London. In general, if you look at the top here, it's giving you Army Tradition and Yearly Prestige, and a bunch of other crap on the bottom. The Army Tradition and Yearly Prestige, not that great. However, if you are France and complete a mission, you get 10 max Absolutism or 10 max Revolutionary Zeal. So if you're playing as France, this is an S tier monument. Otherwise, even if you're playing as Great Britain, this is kind of an F tier monument. So we're going to average those two and put it in D tier, I think. So yeah, this is going to be a D tier monument. All right, Tower of London, you are going solidly in the D tier. Next monument, pretty average. At level 1, nothing too special. 5% reform progress growth, some small amount of slender and prestige. Possible advisors go up in the next tier. The third tier, 20% reform progress growth from 10%. I think it's just pretty average. Anyone can use it, which means it's not, awful. But average means C to me, so I'll give it a C. This next one, also very situational, but also one of the stronger monuments in the game. If you're doing the Sunset Invasion, etc., etc., you need to be not waddle. You need to have the culture in Central American, and this province needs to stay that culture. But if you get it to level 3, you can ignore coring distance. That's pretty good. You get that eventually through the technologies, I do believe, but you can get it at any time as long as you have this monument unlocked. So that can be very strong. It can be abused up to a certain level. So if you are playing in this region, it's the reason why a lot of World Conquest cheese uses Nahuatl as a religion and Mayan as a culture. It's because some of the mechanics can be really, really, really strong. So this monument, I'm going to have to say it, but it's an S tier when you do use it. Let's bump that up to the S tier, shall we? I'm giving a lot of S's out. I don't know. I'd be a bad teacher. I'd pass everybody. Next monument is the Minster. This one gives you some bonuses if you're the right culture. It gives you some Imperial growth authority if you have free cities in the Empire. So let's say, as an example, in my recent Ulm run, or my recent Mulhouse run, rather, I had Ulm as a province, and I had this upgraded to the max because it gave me some Imperial authority for the free cities. It's not a lot, but it does give you some. It gives you some tolerance, give you some loyalty from the clergy, and a little bit of Imperial authority growth. It's not bad, but it's not fantastic. So maybe an A or a B. You know what? Let's put it up in the A tier. I think it's deserved. It's good. I mean, anything that increases the speed at which you can revoke the privilege in the HRE or pass the reforms, and regardless of which direction you're going, is got to be at least an A tier. So that's going to go up there. Next monument is the Venetian Arsenal. This one anybody can use. It decreases your cost of your lightships, increases the repair time, and decreases the shipbuilding time. It also allows you to use a special type of galley, which is a little bit stronger. So if you want to have a really strong navy in the Med, this is a must-have one. The level 2 to level 3, all you get is the new galleys. So if you just want the modifiers, having it at least to level 2 is not too bad. I would say it's just kind of an average one. I wouldn't say it's super special. These galleys aren't crazy stronger than the traditional galleys, so I would say don't overdo it on your money on this. But if you're playing in Venice, you're going to have money anyways, so you're going to probably build this at some point, but just let you know it's nothing game-changing. And for that reason, we're going to put this over in the C tier because it is, I think, pretty average of a monument. One thing I forgot on my list was Mesa Verde, so we're kind of going backwards in alphabetical, but you can pretend it started with a V. That gives you, if you're a totemist, some tech cost and some idea cost. It's nice. It's a good thing if you're totemist. You kind of need it to catch up, but it's, again, pretty average. So I might put this at a C tier probably. It's not very applicable. You're not going to be playing as totemist very often. If you are, grab it. You probably need it, but probably a C or D tier. Yeah, let's throw Mesa Verde over in the C tier. Why not? Next, we have Versailles. This monument will give you some income from vassals, improved relations. That landleader fire is pretty strong once you pass some French missions. And the reinforced speed, always very welcome too. It helps your units not get caught out after they lose a fight. And the loyalty is always nice. The downside is the influence is there, but you're getting some national tax, some improved relations. It's all around a pretty good monument. And it's decent at the first levels. Even that level 1, that national tax modifier is pretty strong. So I think Versailles deserves a spot in the A rank for sure. It's probably one of the better monuments, especially if you're French, and I'm pretty sure anybody can use it. No, you have to have a French culture, but that's not too hard to get. Next, we have Visby City in Gotland. Again, if you are a pirate, this is necessary. If you happen to have this and Tortuga, you're going to have 100% privateer efficiency, which is bonkers. Domestic trade power, also pretty good, especially considering if you're going to be playing as a pirate, you kind of need that domestic power because you're not going to be extending your tendrils across the world doing imperialist things. So pretty strong if you're being a pirate republic. I recommend playing Gotland, kind of fun, but you're not really going to get too much value as any random nation with domestic trade power. It's not as strong as just regular old, trade modifiers, but if you're being a pirate, pretty decent. So it's got to be a B or a C probably. Let's throw this in the C tier. I just think the domestic trade power is okay. You can spend that money eventually. You're going to get some value out of it, of course. Any nation can use it. And so if you're playing as like Sweden or Denmark or the Netherlands, getting that domestic trade power, very strong. But the privateer efficiency, you're not going to be able to use to a great extent. Only 3 left, so hang with me. The next monument is the Walls of Benin. So this one will give you prestige from land battles, as long as the religion in here is going to be the fetishist group, more or less the pagan group, and some trade power modifiers. Not the greatest. It does start at level 2, which if you're going to be playing a fetishist, this is something that you're probably going to have. So you're going to get that prestige, that extra trade power, but it's not like any nation can come in and use it, and it's honestly not the strongest of modifiers to begin with, so you get some loyalty for your estates, and that's about it. So honestly, Walls of Benin, because it's fetishist, give it a D tier. Even if you are fetishist, still a D tier. So the next one is the Neva Winter Palace. This one will give you some early absolutism and some reform progress growth. You'll get some local institution growth here, which is nice. So that'll let you get like Renaissance and stuff relatively early if you're playing like, you know, as Russia, Novgorod Russia, or Muscovite Russia. So that overall makes it pretty decent, but aside from that, it's not got really any value. So it has to be at least maybe a C tier because of the institution growth, and the absolutism is kind of nice, but not many countries can use it unless you're playing as Russia or a Slavic country to begin with. So yeah, it has to be a B or a C probably. So the Winter Palace in the C tier, you can buy institutions as Russia anyways from other people, so you really don't even need that reform progress growth or that, what you call institution growth. All right, one more monument. Here we go. The last monument in the game alphabetically is the Zacatecas Mine City. This one anybody can use, but it's going to be giving you local goods produce modifiers and interest per annum. So the area, for example, if there's a lot of gold in the area, this is one of those uncolonized provinces, I do believe. So if you manage to get gold here, good for you. When I colonized it or whatever, it said fur, but I guess it's going to give you gold. Maybe that's just a bug because I force colonized it with console commands. So it's going to give you some gold. It's going to give you some production. It's going to give you some interest reduction. And even if it's a colonial subject, you'll still get those treasure fleets. So regardless, you're going to make some money with this one. So you might as well upgrade it. Those treasure fleets will pay for themselves eventually if you get that gold production high enough. So definitely worth it. I would say probably an A rank. Yeah, give this bad boy an A rank for the treasure fleets. Definitely not an S rank, but pretty good. Well, that is, I believe, every single monument. I don't know if I'm missing anything. Here, let me put myself a little smaller here so you can see the whole list here. I wish I had names above all of these, but you can see the images. We had a lot of S ranks. We had a lot of A ranks, a lot of B ranks. The D and F ranks, there really weren't that many bad ones, but there's my thoughts on all of these monuments. So take a good look at this. I will leave in the description the downloaded version so you can call that back up if you really wanted to dive into this. Well, that'll do it pretty much for our tier list. I hope you guys did enjoy this if you stuck around this long. These are my thoughts on all of the monuments, why I get them, when I get them, how I think they should be used, how they could be used. If I'm missing anything, or if I have one placed a little bit lower or higher than you think, leave a comment down below. But make sure to subscribe because we're going to be doing a lot more EU4 content and EU5 content when that game gets released. So with that being said, guys, thank you very much for watching, and as always, I will see you next time.